You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV.
Watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform.
Or ask your smart speaker
To play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
And now the end is near. Well, if it isn't, it's probably arrived with my singing like that. Good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon, good day, goodbye. Hello, how are you all? It is our last Premier League show for at least 12 months. It's you've got to sort of just wipe away a little tear, haven't you? All those fans that we're going to miss from clubs that we've got to know over the year. You know, the Liverpool fans, the Newcastle fans. They haven't changed at all, have they? And the Forest fans. I mean, no, we're not going to miss them at all, are we? You know? We've got Coventry fans to have a bit of banter with next season. Proper rivals. None of this bloody tree-hugging shite. But welcome along. Excuse me. I need a fag. This is Leicester Till I Die TV, LTID TV, live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you for joining us and watching. Please join in with the comments. You are most welcome, and we'll be bringing as many of them up as we can. If you're listening on your favourite podcast platform, whether that be Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google, Podcast Addict, many, many, many more. And now, of course, we've got YouTube podcasts as well. You are welcome along. Thank you for lending me your ears. And if you want to listen to us or catch us up on your smart speaker, just purely ask it to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die, and you get me and Brad with. You don't. I mean, the loss is that you don't see our beautiful faces. The gain is that you don't see our beautiful faces, so it's up to you. And you can follow us on all our socials, as you can see there. You'll find us LTID TV or Leicester Till I Die TV, one or t'other, and you will be able to find us. I've got to say, first of all, a big, huge thank you. I'm as huge as I can be. To Steve Smart, who becomes our 14th and latest member. We are getting closer, excuse me, to the figure when we can actually do just member-only shows next season. Really looking forward to that. Steve, again, mate, thank you so very much. You said that you would do it. You have done it, and I really do appreciate it. James is in. Evening, Chris. How are you, James? Obviously, a huge, big fan of Everton, or as we call them, you know, Lucky Bastards FC. But welcome along, James. As always a pleasure to have you in. And as he says there, please do hit the likes and subscribe. Luke is in. Good evening, Luke. How are you? Jolly good evening, Highfield. You've obviously got used to the thought of us playing Rotherham away, unlike Garinda. So welcome along, mate. And again, you joined the other day. Thank you so very much. Steve, as I've just said, thank you so very much, Steve. Let's get depressed looking back at the season. The thing is, like last season's Eurovision, we had to wait until get to the public vote for the English entry or British entry because we were actually near the top. You're going to have to wait for the Leicester entry because at the other end we're near the bottom. What happened to James that done Saturdays and the other guy? What happened to Jamie that done Sundays and the other guy? I've no idea what you're on about, a Facebook user, but do you need to put your name at the end of your comment or it doesn't get run out? I mean, a lot of people have gone away for the holidays. It's just me and Brad, whose sad lives means we've got nothing better to do. So we're here all day. He's nodding away to me in the background. And as James says, lucky is definitely an understatement. Yes, well, look. At the end of the day, if roles are reversed, I wouldn't give a shit, to be honest with you, so I don't blame you. Look, can I just say, let me welcome my guest in. There's only one way I can welcome him in. If I'm honest with you, I've thought about it, and I thought, we've had the hallelujah and all of that, of course. I'm going to introduce him with this. 9. That's how many times you agreed with Jordan Blackwell the other night, mate.
I know, I feel a little bit sick.
Yeah, I know. 9.
It's not nice. I'm all disagreeing. You know what it tells you when the chips are down, you all see everything for what it truly is.
Yes.
Finally, he's finally learned to copy my own work.
Funny thing is, though, he went first.
Yeah, because I gave him the answers earlier.
Ah, that's what it is. Well, just one more
He
time.
said, Brad, don't humiliate me tonight with your superior knowledge of this club. Didn't you, Jordan? You know you did, didn't he?
Can I just say once more?
I'm not trying to clutch at straws.
How many times Jordan and Brad agreed on player ratings last night? 9. There we go. That is going to be saved and used very, very often. This is Leicester Till I Die. Welcome along. We're going to be looking at the 2022-23 Premier League season. And as you can see there's ratings across the bottom. So let me just bring this up. There we go. And this is how we're going to do it. So basically, we're going to bring it up team by team. We will have a look at... we're starting at the top and working our way down to the bottom. That way we can put off talking about Leicester as long as possible. We're going to have a look at their final league position. Going to have a look where I predicted them to finish. And yes, there's some embarrassing ones in there, but there's also... I wasn't too far off with a few of them, I'm going to be honest with you. And then Brad is going to assess what he thinks of their season, whether it's yuck, meh, good, or awesome. Now, obviously, for somebody like a team like one of the big six, say Man City, whatever, without giving anything away, they were pretty much where we would expect them. So they don't necessarily get an awesome. But look, we'll go through it. You'll get the idea as we go along. First of all, though, I see that Sam Allardyce has left Leeds, Brad.
Yeah, shock, horror.
Yeah, I just wonder. I mean... It's him or Philip Schofield at the moment. The two are out of a job.
God, correct. No.
What? I don't know what. I don't believe it. I don't know what you mean. They are both out of a job. They're both good at, looking after, young men running around. That's just
maybe we could live without the wisecracks.
I think we should. Here we go, Brad. Let's start with Manchester City before I get the lawyers onto me. Right, look, they finished first. I predicted them to finish first. It wasn't looking like that, which is possibly why I think you've probably gone for good rather than meh, because at one point, it looked like they might struggle this season. Oh, not struggle, but struggle for them.
Yeah, it did. But then the way it unfolded out, Chris, they went from a team that was 8 points behind, that were being laughed at because they were relying on one man, and there was meme after meme of Haaland going 37 minutes or, 90 minutes. It was, showing signs of, mockery. That's a form of flattery because he just took it all in his stride. Well, we obviously know exactly who's following next, which helps the story a little bit to why I know Man City winning a title, and it's a little bit hard because I'm judging them only on the Premier League. Obviously, again, they haven't played any of their other finals yet, so I wouldn't include that in my rating anyway. But they've had a good season because they could have just done what they did against Liverpool that season and just gave it up. Said, okay, we've made a bit of a shifting change from Aguero. This is always going to be have its test. And they just never looked like they cared that they were 8 points off. And that was for me why I always thought, you know what, they are going to do it, because who do I see potentially dropping points? I don't really see Man City doing it because they don't do it that often. The last, 6 title races have been 90 plus points from Man City. And just the odd century in there, just for the giggles of life of football.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, everybody's going to go straight to Haaland, and I get it. I totally understand it. And yeah, it's a phenomenal thing he's done this season. Absolute machine. He's how we stop the Terminator uprising. Okay, send him in to fight him on his own. It's ridiculous what he does in front of goal. Yeah. But I think people missed a trick. It's what they did when they had to rest him. They still found ways to batter teams off the pitch and beat them comfortably. Alvarez, is that their other striking option? He had one of the most comfortable number 2 roles ever. And he didn't do bad, you know what I mean? He scored a fair chunk of goals from as well.
Winner on as your substitute, is it?
I know. I mean, what a charmed life to live. It ain't all for the blessings. And I get why people, because I'm the same a little bit, I judge them a lot more harshly for winning it and trying to be as impressive as impossible. But you've got to give credit where it's due. They've done it again. Yes, and we'll get to them next. Obviously, Arsenal played a part in making it look even more impressive because you saw the crumble literally happen the way you pictured it happening. The way Arsenal crumbled was painfully hilarious for Arsenal fans, I think.
We'll go on to Arsenal in a second, but Manchester City 3-3. I thought they'd blown it. I actually said it was another team's theirs to lose it, and they did. But they finished with 89 points this season. Do you remember the team that won it in 2015-16, how many points they finished on?
I always get this wrong in my head, so I'm going to piss myself off. And you'd think I'd have it ingrained in my brain, but I don't.
I know. In fact, I'm going to be honest, hands up, I had to double check it, and I was wrong. Because
I always go for one number, and it ends up being 3 too many. So for some reason, I'm going to go somewhere different. Shut up.
It wasn't.
I'm gonna go 81 points.
No, you're spot on there. 81.
I don't know why. I always think it's 80. Then I think no, we won the last game, so it's 83. And I think no, I always think that, and it's wrong. So
I think 79 is what these. Oh, come on. I think I deserve a round of applause for actually getting into this show. The fact that we won the Premier League once. Come on.
Well, yeah, you managed that. Well done. Yeah. 13 minutes, mate.
Trust me. But look, next season we won't be called Leicester City. We will be called Leicester ex-Premier League champion City.
Yeah, there's going to be a difficult away day for Sky to put on.
Yeah, but look, the point I want to make here is that we were derided, if you like. Oh, you only won it with 81 points. Well, I could be honest with you. Manchester City only won it with 89. That's only 8 points more. And can I just say, this season, Manchester City lost 5 games all season. We lost... No,
we lost 3.
3.
My brain froze on me, and I have to remember. I was like, no, I've asked this before. Yes, we've lost 3.
The shock on that one is that you said brain.
I know. I have to say it.
Yeah, we lost 3. Manchester City lost 5. All right, we drew 12 and they only drew 5. So that's where the difference has come in. But they won 28 games this season and we won 23. So I don't think our season was as bad as people were making out. And I don't care whether it was 81 or 181. We won by 10 points from the next team up, which is the team that their famous supporter, Piers Morgan, said bottled it.
Yeah, and the thing is, Chris, this could have been awesome and they still could have finished second. This could have been an awesome season for Arsenal But you just know, and I know the rage. The rage is hilarious to watch on certain TV channels, and shows like that, and other channels that we've known and been on, Chris, as well. Certain Arsenal fans will see this as a crisis, and this is the worst season in the world. It's not. Don't go losing your mind too badly. It's just the collapse makes it a good season. But they had the chance to say, even finishing second, still be proud and say, and they should be proud. It is second against the most unstoppable. Don't ask and get how it's been acquired. That's a different topic. But against the machine that is Manchester City, they missed out somehow on making it an awesome season. Because an awesome season would have been going, wow. I know we said they wouldn't do it, but 88 points or 89 points and a couple of goals, maybe not even that close. That's more dramatic for effect. But you know what I mean? Wow, they took it down. Fair play to Arsenal, took it down to the last game of the season. You'd be talking about an awesome season that was so close and they deserved it, but they just didn't have enough about it. Drawing with, I know we didn't beat Southampton, but you know what I mean? For them to be drawing with Southampton, to be drawing when they're 2-0 up, I know it, and it all started when they nearly did it with Bournemouth. They got away with it against Bournemouth. They didn't time and time again, and that takes it down for me a little bit because I'm sure the Arsenal fans would agree with it.
They finished second. I predicted them to be second, so that's two I've got right, which weren't the hardest two in the division to predict. But look, is it a case of, like with Leicester? Everybody will turn around and say, pissed off with Leicester. Those 2 seasons we finished fifth. Why are you pissed off when Leicester finished fifth? Because, well, we were fourth for like 37 weeks or whatever it was, 36 weeks. Well, yes, we were, but this is Leicester we're talking about. And had Arsenal not been top for as long as they were, they would have grabbed second at the start of the season, I believe.
Yeah. If you'd have told them you're going to be the closest rivals to Man City and you're at least, it's not going to be an embarrassment, you're at least going to take it down to the last 3 games, you'd have been forgiven for thinking then, Arsenal fans, they'd snap your hand off regardless, even if they did know it was going to be in the style it was.
Yeah.
I've never really, I kind of like jest the idea of bottom jobs as we all do because I know Spurs fans, so I get regular practice with the words. But, and they take it to heart. They don't take it to heart at all because they take the piss themselves, to be honest with you. Don't laugh at it, you'll cry, I guess. But I think some Arsenal fans are just so warped and caught up in the disarray it's been since they moved on from Arsene Wenger that they're kind of annoyed that they have to appreciate it a bit more. Certain Arsenal fans. Yeah, and I think that's tainted the fan base a little bit because you see it. If you see it, what do? You copy it. Growing up, if that's the fan base you grew up around, it's natural. It's not against whoever as a person. It's just what they do.
You're quite right. They finished second that year. We won it, but last season they finished fifth. So I'm sorry, but any normal club, and we've got some really good friends who are Arsenal fans, and some realistic Arsenal fans. But to go from fifth to second in one season is not that bad. It's just the fact that they were where they were for so long. And what gets me with the Arsenal fans is all this. There's certain things, and I know Luke's in as a Nottingham Forest fan, but certain fan bases seem to live in the past. And I know I've been joking about winning the Premier League and all that, but Arsenal, they expect to be winning because they're Arsenal. And Luke isn't like this. He's in all the time as a Forest fan. Love having him in. He's a really great guy. Mr. Dorr is a bit of a dickhead, but Mr. Dorr's attitude was very much as a Nottingham Forest fan. We're back where we deserve to be. Well, no, you don't. Yes, you deserve to be here because you got promoted, albeit John Moss was, helped you with that. But sorry, Luke. But what I liked about the Leeds fans was not we're back where we belong, because they've got more right than anybody to say they deserve to be in the Premier League. But their fan base was saying, "Oh God, it's just great to be back," and that's what gets me with Arsenal. Is be great that you've got Champions League football again. Yeah, but we're Arsenal. We should have won it. No, but you didn't. Well, yeah, we should have done. We're Arsenal.
Yeah, but some Arsenal fans say they only hear the static that they want to hear. You become static when you start talking this thing called sense to them Arsenal fans, because the easiest retort I've ever had to that is, well, so where's your title charge been for the last 20 years then? If you're entitled to a title and should win it, why haven't you been winning them when you've been top throughout the last 20 years?
Yes.
You know, and that's what I'd say to them Arsenal fans. That's not just to all Arsenal fans. I think that's obviously clear, but just to reiterate, if you think you was entitled to that title, why weren't you winning them throughout the last 20 years?
Yeah, James agrees with me. I like the jib of that man. The cut of that man's jib there, James. Well done, sir. Well done.
So much so, you can't say your sentences the right way around, can you?
I wanted to burp at the same time. Luke says, "Cheers, mate. Pleasure being in the chat." Look, mate. Everybody's.
Nah, he's a fucking arsehole, that Luke. Can't stand him being in the chat. I wish he'd go away. Who's this True Red anyway, Chris? Who's this? Never met this guy before.
I've actually reached out already to a Coventry channel.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we're screwed. No, stay with us, Luke. All is forgiven. I'm sorry.
But the thing is, though, like I say, anybody's welcome in here as long as we have a bit of banter. But what I don't like, it's like me saying next season we're going to win the championship because we'd won the Premier League in 15-16. You'll never hear me say that. You'll hear me say, "Great, haven't we just had a great, fantastic 9 seasons? Spurs would have loved to have had the 9 seasons we've had, but look, we're where we are because we were shit, and it's where we deserve to be." Talking about a club that you could say was in disarray, and you could say their fans are deluded as well. But I've got to say one thing about Manchester United for me. Their fans, in a way, and it's not until you realise that Man United started to get good when the Premier League was introduced. That was when kind of Fergie took over, wasn't it? And when you forget, and I forget, that the Premier League's been going for 30 years. So a lot of their younger fans, and it's the younger fans that are kind of always sort of like, we're better than, this and all that. They haven't known anything but success under Fergie. And it wasn't just they had a couple of good seasons like Arsenal. They had some amazing runs. So when I think about it with Man United, I kind of get it. Look, they finished third. I didn't think that I'd got them down as finishing sixth. They've won the FA Cup. They've won the League Cup. They're in an FA Cup final, doing their best to stop Manchester City getting the treble. I think this season, and let's be honest with you, they have gone through a massive rebuild this year. It needed somebody to come in and go, right, we scrap everything. And I think a lot of Man United fans, if they'd finished, ninth or eighth this season, they would have said, yeah, that's fine because it's a rebuild season. So I think for them to finish third, get rid of the tosser that is Ronaldo, although apparently rumours are true, Newcastle are after him. I think that they've had a good season, and now you've got them as having a good season there as well.
Yeah, annoyingly, I do. Because they have had a good season. But I'm going to, you know what, Chris? I'm going to take this perfect opportunity to try my best impression of a big six team supporter, right? Talking about Manchester United finishing third, like they did about us winning the league. You've got to give them credit, right? You've got to give them credit. Yes, they're still clearly susceptible to confidence. They had a few blips this season that weren't too dissimilar of what they've had under previous managers, despite the slatings they got. It was perfectly fine when Ten Hag was getting beat 7-0, and all that. So it's still there. They're still vulnerable. They're still going bad runs, but he pulled it together. He got Rashford firing on all cylinders twice because he had to pick him up again. And when they have been good, they have been impressive this season. But I just wonder, would they have got third place if Spurs knew how to not bottle things? Would they have been there if Chelsea weren't the Comedy Central of football this season and not been down at 12th with a billionaire that hasn't got a clue what he's doing? You know, had they learned to do this thing called score goals and win games? You know, what if Liverpool had turned up at the start of the season? I don't think it's actually as impressive as they're making out. They only finished third, only because 3 other teams didn't turn up. It's not that big a deal, is it? Oh, so they finished third and they won a Carabao Cup. They think they're amazing now and fit right in at home.
You see, I get what you're saying.
I'm just being a pedantic arsehole, mate, because it's Manchester United. But no, seriously, they did balance the season out and finish third. You can't say it's not good.
I do have to say this to you.
Your opinion is wrong.
To me, and I'm going to counter this with when Leicester won the Premier League, Spurs imploded. Manchester City sacked their manager with 2 months to go and announced it, so their players kind of gave up because they had nothing. You know, they thought, why are we playing for a guy that's going to be leaving? Liverpool hadn't sort of settled Klopp in yet, but we still won it. And in fairness,
yeah, I know that, but that's what I mean. I just want Man United fans to want to go, yeah, but we still came third, didn't we? We still have to win our games. It's like, yeah, that's how we felt defending ourselves from such comments about us when that was the truth.
No, I've got to say,
yeah,
I would have been tempted to tip it over to Awesome, but look, it's your assessment. So
I think good's fair enough because I think they would have liked to have been a little bit closer to second place. I don't think they wanted to be fighting for third. Let's face it, did they? They wanted to be fighting for at least second place.
Yes,
they wanted to. If they couldn't get it, at least go look. Well, you know, Arsenal got whatever points. We were only 2 behind them or whatever. So we're not fighting with. You know, I just think it could have been a little bit better. I'm also a little bit stingy towards Manchester United, so leave me alone. Next team, please.
9 points off. I'm not letting it go. 9 points off. They were.
They still got a beating in them though, Chris. They still had a shock defeat, didn't they? I mean, they got battered 4-1 by Brentford, 4-0 by Brentford, didn't they? So
how many points off Arsenal were?
9.
See, there you go. If you're 9 points or more off, you just get that. It's an automatic knockdown in grade. I'm afraid, Man United fans.
4 points off Manchester United. It was kind of at the end quite staggered. It wasn't a close race, but no, I take on board on what you say. I disagree with you on this one, but look, Newcastle. Yeah, I think we all expected them to do well. I had them down as finishing 7th. They finished 4th. And I think with most genuine Newcastle fans, those that haven't let the money go to their head and are turning into Arsenal fans, and some of them are, I'm going to have to be honest with you again, not all of them, they would have been very, very happy with 7th this season. So they have exceeded expectations. Their problem is, with the way that some of their fans are changing, just as Leicester fans changed when we had a good season, you know, I pity Eddie Howe next season if he doesn't do the same. But you've got them as Awesome.
Yeah, you got to give credit where it's due. When he took over, we thought, great, they're preparing for the life in the Championship. They're opening because they were in a dire state. It didn't matter about the takeover at that point, realistically, because you've seen it. It's not like they've gone out. Everybody thought Newcastle would have had to spend 600 million before they got their first place in the Champions League. The honest, down-to-earth Geordies that we all know and love and have spoke to and been on shows with them many a time, you know, they were about your thinking. 8th, 6th maybe, sort of finish was the sort of thing I've seen predicted. And this was going to take time. You know, Eddie Howe was going to keep him up like he did last season, but he had to build on that. And they haven't gone crazy with the money. And, you know, Trippier took the gamble, come for a pay cut, according to one of his interviews. He said it. He came out and said, I took a pay cut to come from Atletico to Newcastle. So Eddie Howe built the squad right. He got a confidence out of players that, let's face it, Chris, we've been taking the piss out of most of our time in the Premier League. Yeah. Maximon and Almiron have all been, and that's not just Leicester fans, every single set of fans were taking the piss out of them, except for
Newcastle the Geordies. To be honest with you.
Yeah, they were at points, yeah.
Believe what Eddie Howe's achieved with some of those players.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what, Chris? Yes, it's been done with a little bit more of a spend, obviously. You know, let's face it, it's no 5,000 to 1. I just want to have that little bit of a little chirp on this moment. Sorry, Newcastle. There's my little rain on your parade, just a little bit in my own little words. But you broke the barrier.
Yeah.
You may have done it with a bit more fuel, you know, a bit more to burn than others that broke the barrier this season, granted, but you did it, and fair play to you. You know, I like to think we contributed to that and should be awarded 5 extra bonus points from the FA by giving you that point, you know, on that Monday night. But we'll discuss that later down the line. But on a serious note, Newcastle, awesome season.
Yeah, and
that was my plea to bargain with the FA, by the way. If they just want to contact me in the Premier League, I'll be happy for bribery and negotiations, allegedly.
If you opened a bribery, then the job's yours, mate. Let's go. And the thing is, they haven't spent big. I mean, yes, they've spent big compared to, you know, Southampton, obviously, or you know, even ourselves. But when you compare it to the likes of Chelsea and you compare it to the likes of Man City, they haven't gone out and just spent money. They've spent it wisely, and that is the thing, isn't it? Yes, they bought, you know, they've gone out there and paid 20, 30, 40 million, but they've not gone out there and spent 80, 90, 100 million. You know, they've not bought
a player
and what have you. And what I like about Newcastle is the fact that, yes, okay, they've got money, but it's this cozy little club that is the so-called Big Six of the Premier League. I've suddenly went, all right, Leicester tried it. We've kicked them out, got rid of them now. You know, look at Leicester now. They thought they were going to sort of go tooth and nail with us, and look where they are. But then it's suddenly like, oh shit, Newcastle's a different kettle of fish because they've got some serious money behind them.
Yeah, and it's going to happen, and we know where that's going to lead to. I mean, their plus side, no matter what happens, Chris, they'll never get nicknamed the Empty Ad or Empty James Park or something like that, because them fans are loyal. Them fans go home and away, and they pack a stadium. You've got to give credit to them for it, and never shirk the responsibilities on a match day, from what I see of them. And I just know, you just know what the neutral game's going to be once it wears off. Once the pixie dust wears off this fairy tale, that's when you get a bit concerned maybe for Newcastle.
Yes, yeah.
Because it's just natural, unfortunately, in this world. It's just naturally that people get bored of them when they start to win stuff.
You build people up only to knock them down. We do it so well in this country, don't we? You know, we don't like anybody actually doing well for themselves. Oh, we don't mind it for a bit, but then, let's kick them back.
It's a bit boring. Next team's got to come along and mix it up.
Yeah. The thing I like, I mean, I did a thing for the BBC. It was my last one as their Tuesday Talking Point Premier League correspondent, because, of course, we're not in the Premier League anymore. So it's been a pleasure, and I want to thank the BBC for giving me the opportunity to be a contributor, as we've got to call ourselves, to the BBC website. I've really, really enjoyed it. It's been better than therapy there, every post-game, writing my thoughts out. It's really helped me get through the season. But one of the things at the end we ended on, we had to say which fans we thought sort of created the best atmosphere, or basically the best away fans that came to the KP. And I immediately said Newcastle, because I don't think you get a better set of fans than Newcastle. And I tell you one thing, that if they now come back with this idea of this European Super League, you can't do that without asking Newcastle in now, because they're not just they are a big club. They've got the history, they've got the fan base, they've got the stadium, they know they've got the money, they've got to be included in that. But will Newcastle fans accept being in the ESL? I don't think they will. I think there'll be more anti it than fans from any other club.
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. It's just the way Newcastle's always been as a team, so, and a fan base. So yeah, they deserve it, don't they? I know they're not anything to do with Leicester at all. Couldn't usually give a monkeys. I mean, if they somehow went down, I'd still have a chuckle at it, because it's like,
you like to see the big clubs go down.
Yeah, of course, but it'd be weird at the same time. But it's just, if you could ever take a horrid owner away from a football club, it was Newcastle, weren't it? Because it got to a point we felt the fans really don't deserve this drab. I mean, not only did they have Steve Bruce as a manager, but they had that, they had that absolute cretin Mike Ashley in charge of them.
Yeah, and let's be honest with you, Steve Bruce, not a Premiership manager, but a very, very, very good Championship manager. Yeah,
I don't want him. No.
Let's move on before we get on to that. Okay, that was fourth. Coming up in fifth place, I'm miles off here because not miles off. In fairness, there's a certain team coming up later that we were more miles off with, but I thought they would come second this season. It was, as you've put there, it was a meh season. It can't be awful because they did, I think, come back towards the end, but yeah, they can't be happy with that season. When you look at some of the games that they were losing earlier on, Leeds, Forest.
Yeah, it kind of tells you the state of the entire season in a weird sort of way, doesn't it? Because it was borderline on awful until that little run at the end, wasn't it? Where they didn't lose the last 8 games, so it was 8 or more. It was 8 wins in a row, and then the 4-all thriller was between them and their B team, Southampton. That came out of nowhere, didn't it? But yeah, they kind of redeemed the season a bit because that start was horrible. That start was horrible, and there was a point where certain Liverpool fans started to maybe think, did I just hear someone say Klopp out? I don't know, that sounds like a good idea. And, that happened. It happened, and it happens to every fan base. A little bit of panic goes around. It doesn't start going their own way like we want it to. Then the words, maybe the manager needs to move on, start getting spoken about. And credit to him, he turned it around. He balanced it out. I'm not sure how they managed to get back up into 5th, but Liverpool did that, I think, one season when we finished 5th, where they actually came from 8th and caught us up in the Champions League spot. So they have been known to do this before, and I think just when it happens, it's the way it sort of happens. They never really got going to a point, did they, like Liverpool have been used to? And
No.
90 plus points is hard to keep accumulating. That's why I call Man City a machine, because it's just damn near impossible to always manage to do it. And I think Liverpool are owed a little bit of a burnout where they're not chasing the title down every time. It's not easy to do. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was still a mare, wasn't it? Just because of who they kept losing to and dropping points to.
They only actually won 50% of the games.
Yeah, it's just not been that wasn't a Liverpool season we've all come to see over the last few years.
So did Newcastle, but Newcastle drew 4 more. But, they lost 9 games. It's a quarter of the games. And, you look at the last 2 games, like you said, 4-4 against Southampton, and before that 1-1 against Villa. In those 2 games alone, all right, Villa, we'll come on to Villa sort of later, and they, had an amazing second half of the season. But once the team's down, they play with the freedom because the pressure's off, etc., etc. But there's no way that a team that's trying for Europe, and they're in the positions there, 5th, 6th, 7th, where you didn't know who was going to get into Europe depending who finished where. There's no way that team should have been going to the team that's already got an R next to its name and only getting, actually it was away from home, but only getting a draw. And, the St Mary's is not exactly what you'd call a fortress, is it?
Yeah, but then, I say it seems to be Liverpool sort of standard, the way they do things sometimes. Who remembers Steven Gerrard's last game ever in a Liverpool shirt? Yeah, they gave him such a dignified send-off, getting thrashed 6-1 by Stoke.
Yep.
So Liverpool know how to do it in style if they're going to muck up a last day performance or something like that, don't they, Chris? They know how to do it in their own manner.
They certainly do. I think this next one, unfortunately, I hate to do this to you, Brad, but I don't think you're going to like this next team that comes up.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
Brighton. You have hated them these last couple of weeks, haven't you? Absolutely hated them. Look, they finished sixth. I predicted that they would be 12th. You've had to go, and I think this probably hurt more than the other 19 put together, even Leicester, because you've given them awesome.
Hi, I'm Brighton. I can draw with Man City, but can I play against Everton? No.
Look, I'm just handing this over to you for 5 minutes.
For God's sake. This is the most annoying rating I've had to give because just why? Why? You were really good. I really liked the season we're having. They were the feel-good factor team, Chris. They were the feel-good factor team, weren't they? Everybody was loving what this Mr. Tomer was doing. You know, this Ferguson, Evan Ferguson, and all that going on. Give McAllister. All right, they lost Trossard, but it didn't seem to affect them. They lost Potter. Mancho's unemployment over European football. Brilliant. Again, I know that's tongue in cheek. We've had the debate about him going to Chelsea, but it's still funny. And you kind of felt good for them because it was like Potter abandoned ship. Didn't do that on his Hogwarts adventure. But they strove on, and then they went and ruined it by getting walked all over by Everton. I'm not saying I'm stuck on that or holding it against them in any way, but
No, not at all.
No, mate, no, I don't hold it against them at all, twats. But no, they had an awesome season, Chris. All fairness, all that aside, all kidding aside and everything, they did have an awesome season. You can't not give them anything less because it'd be disrespectful to how well they played throughout the season. Minus this one very important game where I really wanted them to turn up and they absolutely fucked us in the arse. But that's a aside. They've had an awesome season, Chris.
No.
I'm good. I'm fine. I don't need therapy.
The thing is, it's like I've said to you before. If it can't be Leicester that break the mould, and I know they've not smashed the ceiling. Well, they kind of have. I'm going to say they kind of have. Let me take that back, because you would not think that a team like Brighton would have got European football. I think for the first time in their history, finishing sixth, having lost a good manager during the season. It was like a seamless swapper. You wouldn't even have known that that anything could happen there. And I think they've had one hell of a good season, and I am so pleased for teams like Brighton and a couple we've got coming up soon, because I don't think of Leicester as a big team. I still don't. Yes, we've won the FA Cup. Yes, we've won the Premier League, but we are not a big club. I still see us as sort of like a Brighton, like maybe like a Villa, those sort of clubs. So it's great to see a club like Brighton do so very well, for me, very, very well. And congratulations to them, and good luck next season in the Europa League. I hope they do really, really well. But I've got to just say, we've got to just quickly do this. And I know, we're not going to be doing individual shows about who's been linked, but I'm just going to say that Daniel Farke has left Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Good, now stay in Germany. Don't come here. Don't know how it is, Daniel Farke. They stay there.
Yeah. Championship experience, Brad. You said
that wrong, Chris. What you meant to say is championship experience. No, thank you. No. No.
No, I don't either, to be honest with you. But
N with a side order of O. That's where I was at.
I like that one. Okay, look, let's get back to the serious stuff.
Let's move on to the next team. Come on, it's making me queasy.
This one,
for God's sake, this doesn't make it better, Chris.
I was going to say, how can you say that? Look, Villa finished.
Next. Well done.
Got into Europe. I predicted 10th. They finished. I predicted 10th. They finished 7th. Dean Smith, obviously, a link with Leicester. He did. He got them promoted. Via the players, but he still got them promoted. He kept them up. He turned Grealish into £1 billion player. But then Villa thought, no, he's not good enough for us. We need to get an experienced, great name and manager, and they brought in Steven Gerrard. It kind of went tits up for them, didn't it?
Yeah, and they made the better decision. They got rid of the Scottish import from Rangers before. We got rid of our silly fool from Celtic. So, I guess the joke's on us on making the later call on that one. But had they stuck with Gerrard, we might have either stayed up or they'd have taken our place or they'd have been coming down with us because he was hilariously bad. And that's what takes this from a good season to an awesome season for me, because you have to remember that. As much as we took the piss, you have to remember they were just as much in trouble at the early stages of the season than we were. And the teams that eventually went down with us and were in the fight right to the end, were. And the fact that they've gone from there to I believe that's the Europa Conference, isn't it? It's not Europa League 7th, it's the Europa Conference League, isn't it?
I think they are in the conference.
Because it's 4 for the Champions League, it's 2 for Europa, so that's 5 and 6, so 7 is conference.
I think it's because United and City are both in the FA Cup final.
Yeah, and neither one of them league position was.
Therefore, an extra Europa League place.
And they've already it's because they qualified for a Champions League next season. They don't need it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly why they've got it. So so to go from there to Europe, had that been 8th or lower, it would have still been a good season, but it wouldn't have been an awesome season for me. The fact that they went from where they were and in the direction they were going in to what he's done with that team, that just made it that extra bit more of a quality season. You have to annoyingly, begrudgingly, through gritted teeth, confess your sins later. On the Sunday, make sure you go to church and confess your sins for saying good spirited things about them. But it's an impressive job.
Sorry, Villa are in the Conference League.
I thought that's what it was. 7th place.
Champions League, City, Arsenal, United, and Newcastle. Europa League, Liverpool and Brighton, and Conference League, Villa. Look, West Ham, they took it this season, and if you win, you win. It doesn't care whether it's Conference, Europa, it's a European Cup, isn't it?
No. Well, I think that's the only thing that could scarp Aston Villa, isn't it? Still. Because what would happen? Because don't the winners of each corresponding competition automatically qualify for the one above? Because the Europa League winners,
if West Ham win, they go into the Europa League, but it doesn't take any places away from us.
Oh, okay, so Villa have got it no matter what. It's not one of them like they'd lose it because like Chelsea did it to. Was it Newcastle before or something like that? Finished 4th, and because they won it, but they finished 6th. Because we've done it a few times, haven't we? Where we've happened where
in a playoff before they can go into the group stage.
Okay. So, excuse must have changed a little law so it didn't affect the conference then. Because I just know that that's how it works with winning the Champions League. If you win the Champions League, it doesn't matter where you're on the league. You take that extra spot, and 4th gets given Europa League. And I think you kind of
there's a team that's not getting Europe at all.
That's hurt me, bro.
I mean,
this was.
Let me just say, I have a jingle for every occasion, and Spurs fans, just for you.
Viewers, apologize. I'm continue.
Love that, man. I had them finishing third. Oh gosh, how wrong was I? Eighth. I mean, if there's when we always used to say, "Oh, Leicester City, we're our champions at shooting ourselves in the foot," and if there's, if anybody's not scored for sort of 3 seasons, play Leicester and you're bound to get a goal. But what a joke this club has become.
Yeah, and again, it's one that the majority of the fan base have just accepted with grace and just take every abuse because they know they agree with it, and we know look, there's problems with the board and whatnot, but this is it in a season that's been full of the unknown and the improbable has happened to a team that's needs credit where it's due, Chris, to stay that consistently crap on a regular basis. The way Spurs always bottle things and capitulate and have embarrassing results and everything. At least this season, they made the respectful decision to just forgo a European embarrassment next season by just gracefully stepping out of it and finishing eighth. Credit where it's due. Just embarrassing yourself in one continent's bad enough. So don't risk having to go and play another continent and embarrassing yourself more. Fair play, Spurs. You've done a good job there. You finally lived up to what you've earned. Because, Chris, I remember you saying throughout the weeks when we used to do the prediction league that I won, didn't want to mention it, but you made me. You mentioned where Spurs were in the league and go, how are they still in Europe? Asking you shall receive, Chris. They were working on it, mate. They were working on it. They got there this season. So, yeah, absolutely awful. The gift that keeps on giving. Yeah. I call them a comedian of the footballing world, don't I, Chris? Because you just know you're in for a laugh when you watch when Spurs are playing.
I mean, I think when managers go there, and we always say, like, why would anybody go there? Well, look, let me just say who I think, obviously he's been linked with the job.
Bellend.
Hey, Madison Tally.
We had to get him in once. This will last next season as well. But look, good. If he goes to Spurs, that's just killing them off totally. I've only said that once though, Brad. I've not done something nine times. Just thought I'd mention that. But look, you usually go to a manager to Spurs, and I put them third on the basis that they'd kept hold of Conte, because he'd come in during the season last season, and I think he came in, I thought, with this sort of like, well, hang on a second, you want me, then I want this, I'm allowed to do this, I'm allowed to do this, and I think Spurs might have said, yeah, okay, because they were that desperate. But I mean, I'm going to say fair play to Conte. Whether you agree with him or not, I think the fact that he came out and spoke like he did, I take my hat off to him. There we go. Only because it took guts to do that. The argument could be that, yeah, and he knew he was probably going to get sacked doing that. If only, Mr. Rodgers had the balls to do that, then we could have sacked him earlier. But, yeah, I think I had them third because of the Conte effect, but they've got this huge stadium. What Harry Kane is still doing there, God only knows. All he obviously wants to ever win is the Golden Boot, and he didn't even get that this season. So I just think they are a joke. They've got to say a lovely stadium. Let's be honest with you, it's probably one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country. But it's no good having a stadium like that when you don't win anything. And they're all going to be second to their North London rivals at this rate.
Yeah, and we'll later on in the show, much later on in the show, not later on enough in my opinion though, we'll come to another team who I think, kind of get what their owners deserve. Not necessarily the fans or anything like that, because like I said, I'm actually friends with a few Spurs fans. So they take it in their stride. They take it in their stride to a point, and they have a laugh about it themselves. They know the situation's dire and embarrassing, but their owner kind of deserves it, because this is what you get when you gamble on basically 2 players saving your season. You say you can't understand how Kane's been there. I mean, that he signed a 6-year deal without a release clause. I know they say he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but come on, mate. You're at Spurs. I can understand the length of the contract because you've been at Spurs that long, but come on. You had yourself to blame for that. The other person is Heung-min Son. I don't know how they've managed to keep him because he is a talent and he deserves to be playing European football. You know what? You think about him or not, Kane does as well to a point because he's that menace of a striker. If you like him or not, he's a menace of a striker. He gets penalties by drawing and slipping on him, but he gets penalties. He scores goals. Yeah, but he doesn't trip over his own draw. He trips over his own shoelaces. It's different.
I'm not going there. I'm not going there. Give me lawyers.
Okay. I just no wait. They've just texted me back saying you don't have any.
No, that's true. So allegedly, but no.
This is what happens when you don't build around Kane and Son. You get no European football.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point you make. And I think a lot of Spurs fans would say, if they lost either of those 2 players, they would have probably been, or they didn't have those 2 players this season, they would have been in a European battle. And I think I didn't realise that Levy owned the company that's got the biggest shares in Spurs. So they can't actually sack him because he bloody owns the club. But he also seems to think that he's able to run the club, which obviously he's got absolutely no idea. But I just, at what point do the other shareholders in Spurs, and I suppose if they're getting their payoffs, that's all they're happy with. But when do they say, like, well, look, when are we actually going to win something?
Well, it just makes you further question the ambition because, yeah, he holds the majority, but they are still there. They can still do their own part to try and change that. You might not be able to get rid of him, but you still have your point to do within the club, and they just don't seem to. They seem to be wanting. They seem to be so desperate to do it in a totally different way to everybody else. The issue is they just haven't figured out how or what that different way is because I just don't know what it is. No. They're trying to do something. I'm just not sure they even know what it is they're doing, and they're trying to do it where they'll win something, and you'll think, "Wow, how did that Spurs team win it?" It's almost like they're trying to downgrade slowly, so they can say, "Oh, now we're a Brighton and that with our team because we have to sell our best players because our owner won't invest." So, I don't know. I think they're crying out for attention. I don't know what's going on at Spurs, but it was just awful.
I think they're just crying. But
the thing is, Chris, I don't think they'll respond the same way Arsenal did about European football.
No,
I just don't see them responding the way they probably hope they're going to do, and that's probably what they're thinking. Get us out of Europe, clear out, and start again.
But I just don't know who they're going to get in. But we're going to look at 2 clubs now that promised so much more, but did fall short in the end of the day.
Leicester Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Brentford. Although I say that they did promise so much more, I think they did. I mean, they still finished 9th, which again, if you'd given any Brentford that at the start of the season, it'd have not only bitten your hand off, it'd have taken your arm off as well. I had them down as 14th, and as you said there, it was an awesome season for them, but they just fell short at the end.
Yeah, it was, and unfortunately, there wasn't enough room on the giant slaying bus for Brentford just to make it. Really, it's unfortunate because there was a good team. They were the best team to miss out on European football, in my opinion. I think, they beat Man City the last game of the season. All right, the title won. It was a new territory in a way for for Brentford, for Man City. Sorry, you know, the fact that they didn't have to do anything on the last 2 games. They didn't have to do anything to win a title. People would argue that, but I think they picked up very good points throughout the season, and very rarely did they lose to someone you'd expect them to. They might have had the odd shock in there, but relatively, they lost to teams that you were expecting them to throughout the season. And they're getting points off teams you weren't expecting them to get points off as well. I genuinely mean it. This was the best team to not get European football. And yes, they won't have a Mr. Ivan Toney for 3/4 of next season. Let's face it, it's an 8-month ban. And I don't know if that's like from now and 8 months down the line from when it was given, or if it's 8 months from the start of the season. I'm assuming it's from when it was issued. So, you know, it will at least be a quarter season. So they'll have to replace that next season. But if they do, and they find someone who's going to be able to step in while he's sidelined from with his ban that he obviously deserves and got for what he did, from what I can tell anyway. If they do that, I think they'll be on for a similar sort of season next season as well, because this isn't just like some momentum they're riding. They played really good football this season, Chris. And I know he's someone that we've talked about with the Leicester job not happening. I don't know why he would now. He'd just be more than a backward step. I could understand maybe if we stayed up and he fancied the rebuild, but no. So keep doing what you're doing at Brentford, and all I can say to Thomas Frank is, I don't care if it is Chelsea. Do not make Potter's mistake, because I really can see him getting something out of Brentford next season to be there or thereabouts challenging for it, mate. They were truly awesome.
And obviously built, and I hate to keep saying this, sound like a broken record, but built on Dean Smith's foundations.
Yeah, it's almost like there's a sign for a manager to managers in the Championship that could get us back up there, because he builds the right foundations for you.
Yeah. Following on from Brentford, who
you know what? For that quick question, I actually have an answer to it straight away. I know he's a flight risk for injuries, but I can see him getting pushed out of Newcastle. Maybe bringing Callum Wilson. There you go. Moving on. Got it said. That's all I wanted to say, because I did actually have a player in mind and I did see it. If they can keep him fit, Callum Wilson could do them a job for 8 months or 5 months, whatever it'd be needed by that point.
You know, we talked about Tottenham's season imploding. Fulham's season's imploded this year. They finished 10th, and again, you know, look at me. I had them down as finishing 17th, so just avoiding relegation, and that was because I didn't think Silva was that particularly good manager. When I look back at his history, sorry James, when he was with Everton, and I'm thinking like, yeah, he's not a Premier League manager.
No, it just turns out Everton have just been awful for years, and you know.
Oh, sorry, James.
Sorry, James. I am sorry, James, but I think you'll know.
Just remember, Brad's opinions are not necessarily those of Leicester Till I Die TV. I had them 17th. They finished 10th. You had them down as good, but it could have been so much better.
Yeah, it could have, and literally, this just tails off what I've literally just said about Brentford in regards to Ivan Toney. 15 million, I reckon. I know it sounds shocking, maybe 20 million at a push, but yeah, they could get him. He'd be a cheap enough option. Who knows? West Ham maybe go on a selling spree this season. They could get Antonio from West Ham. Just an idea. But into going on for Fulham here, you say about Ivan Toney, can they replace him because they'll need goals while he's out in that squad, and they need guaranteed goals in that squad whilst he's there. We saw what happened to Fulham without their star man, Mitrovic. All right, didn't stop them putting 5 past us. They also didn't stop us beating Everton, so you can't really be mad at Fulham for beating us, because they at least did something better than Brighton. I'm not bitter. I don't hold it against them. But no, Fulham were good, but we saw what they were like without that key player there. Yes, Willian and players like that, who were quite impressive, I must say, did were able to turn up every now and then for them, which kind of stopped the ship from completely sinking. Because they did pick up a few wins along that way. I've just mentioned 2, unfortunately. I had to kind of put that point in there. So maybe I'm being a bit harsh because of Brighton and Brentford and Fulham where they finished. But they did fall off, and they did show that when the big star's not all together, it does have its weaknesses, and that has to be a concern for them because it won't be, it doesn't have to be a suspension. If he was to pick up an injury, I hope he doesn't because I like watching him play football, but if he does pick up an injury, how would you cope? Because every question gets asked that they did prove everybody wrong, and maybe I am just being uber critical because of that, but because I've seen that, I kind of think, oh, you may be a little bit lucky as well, because had he got injured throughout that season and not played as many games, would Fulham have finished as high as they did?
Yeah.
We'll find out next season if they need to rely play games without him. Yeah. We'll see.
Just we're halfway through, so just taking a break at the moment. Let me just.
Sorry, we said halfway there, and Bon Jovi came into my head.
Stop being Philip Schofield.
Shut up, you. No need for that.
You know I do. Look, the Leicester Till I Die Prediction League still got time to join. What you need to do is follow Brad at Fulltime Focus on Twitter. That's all one word, no gaps, no underscores, no mazes. So at Fulltime Focus, follow him on Twitter. He'll follow you back. And then when we start the next season, it will be championship predictions. Get them in by Thursday at 9 o'clock. For that weekend and also the following week, if there's midweek games, which obviously there's going to be quite a bit of. And you must write the predictions in full. So, as I say, full. So, for example, there, if it's, we don't expect Leicester City, but we expect Leicester. Leeds United, we expect Leeds. We don't expect Leeds United. But what we don't want is just no clue whatsoever as to what the teams are, because Brad may well be using a different list to what you are. And we know that from when I've done prediction shows that different sites have things listed in different ways. So write them out in full. You need to get it in by 9 o'clock on the Thursday. If you don't, Brad has got every right to refuse your week's entries. It's not for him to chase you up. It is up to you to get them into him. And if you are going to go on holiday, just let Brad know, because if you miss a couple of weeks, then you could be dropped from it altogether. 3 points for a correct score, 1 point for a correct outcome, and you get weekly updates on the Friday night prediction show. If you want to do it, get it in by the 11th of June. And I've got to say a big, huge thank you to Steve Lynex and his brand, foxy7clothing.co.uk, because he has put the prize up for the winner. They will receive a cap, a beanie, a T-shirt, a sweat top, and a hoodie. So thanks very much to Steve for doing that. I'd love a Liverpool fan or a Man United fan to win those. I really would. And don't forget as well, fancy a quiz? We all like a quiz, don't we, Brad?
We do. We do.
We've got the quiz channel coming very soon. Leicester Till I Die, the quiz channel. But you can get in early. It is currently Top 10 Battles. So go over to YouTube, subscribe to Top 10 Battles. Next week it will be changing to Leicester Till I Die, the quiz channel. But if you subscribe to it as Top 10 Battles, you still will be subscribed. And this is where you will find the quizzes that we always used to do on on this channel. Will be now appearing on Leicester Till I Die TV with your host with the most, Mr. Bradley Perkis there, and we will be doing. He hates that. We will be doing different quizzes. So we're going to have the pyramid game, the Price is Right, Room 101. Who am I? I've often said that. £1 million drop. I'm really looking forward to that one. Nations League. So coming soon, get over there, subscribe to Top 10 Battles, and you will also be, you'll automatically be subscribed when we change it over. Back to the league. Palace. We all laughed, didn't we? when Roy Rogers went back in. Look at this, though. I said they're going to finish 11th. Where did they finish? 11th. But you got them down. Well, you got them down as meh. It was kind of what we expected, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I can't really say the words, Chris, because they're so repetitive. Yeah. It's so easy to say. You can't predict the league table, let's say, but there's one thing you can guarantee: Crystal Palace will finish mid-table. It's the same every season. Okay, Vieira had them playing a little bit more exciting football, but it was still polished to still a turd because they'd win a few, and they'd lose, win a few, and then they'd lose. And then it go a little bit wrong, so they sack him, and then they bring in an 196-year-old Roy Hodgson, and guess what? They win a few, they look good, then they lose, then they draw, and then the season ends, and Crystal Palace pretty much start where end where they started after the first game, which was probably 11th, Chris. They probably drew their first game and were 11th, and then guess what? Ta-da! They finished the season in 11th. It's Crystal Palace's position. It's nailed on more times than Man City winning the league. Is Crystal Palace 11th, at worst 12th. Maybe on a real bad day, 13th.
Do you know where they were last season? 12th.
Were they 11th? Oh. I mean, it's Crystal Palace. Just rename the position.
Yes. Arsenal will now be known as Arsenal 4 FC, and Crystal Palace will be known as Crystal Palace Mid-Table FC.
Yeah. Jesus, just meh, Chris. They were exactly what it suggests as an assessment. Try something different, please, Palace. You're not one of them teams that everybody wants to go down or anything like that, but you are just a little bit boring.
Yes.
Stop being so predictable.
Thing is, though,
with where you're going to finish.
We would take boring this season, wouldn't we?
Yeah, admittedly, you're right. Okay, I didn't want to bring that point up, but you told me to. So okay, there we go. We're going down that route. Yeah, I'm sure some smug Palace fans reminded me that we're a Championship Cup next season, but I was hoping you wouldn't. But yeah, obviously I would have taken it. All right. Crush my point when I'm making one, but I mean, do something different next season, please.
Yeah, well,
you're like the advert we like to skip on YouTube. You're like the annoying advert on YouTube that everybody keeps skipping. Just do something different, make it interesting.
Oh, guess who's coming up next? Chelsea.
This was awful, but for so many good reasons. It was hilarious.
Well, I thought I had them for coming fourth, and I think you've got to say at the start of the season, we probably felt that, yes, they were. And then after I predicted them to finish fourth, they went and sacked Tuchel, and they finished 12th. And you've got it there, haven't you? You've got it awful.
But it's funny, Chris. It's so funny to watch. It's we've had a crap season, right? We know ours is crap and fine, but by God, I understand it now. There is something funny about watching other teams just go off the Richter scale at their own club. It was hilarious. I mean, we had our problems this season. God, we went down for crying out loud. But Chris, to have been a Chelsea fan this season. Oh dear, let's just recap their season. Let's give their quick season. Okay, so this is. You ever wondered, Chris, why some billionaires get told they're dumb billionaires? Dumb dog millionaires, you'd call them, or something like that. And we give a stereotype when they're American, don't we? Because we like to give them a bad stick. We say they can't coach the English game, and they've proven it so far. But we maybe sometimes I think no, we give these Americans some stick. We should be nice to our American neighbours as they are. But then they go and do something hilarious, like they buy a football club. They hire a guy because they think he's related to Harry Potter and he's an actual wizard, right? And he goes and I say sign. but I don't think he did. I think the American billionaire, maybe splashed his cash on his fancy rich toys. He did ever so slight overbalancing, Chris, because instead of signing maybe 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 players, if he really wanted to get rid of a clear out, he forgot 2 things. First of all, he forgot to clear out all the deadwood from that team. But like a hoarder, what this silly billionaire did was he brought 987 midfielders and forgot the strikers. And then, when he thought it couldn't get any lower and he couldn't figure out the problem behind his team not being able to score goals because they didn't have any strikers, in his infinite wisdom, mere weeks after saying that Graham Potter was a long-term project, he then sacked his long-term project. I mean, I know the Americans like to be different, but that's pretty special to do that literally weeks after you said he's your long-term project. They hired the man that they sacked 2 years prior for taking them nowhere and getting no better results and having Chelsea in a similar position near enough when he was first in charge. In their infinite wisdom, the man who celebrated finishing 17th or 16th, possibly the season before with Everton, like it was winning the UEFA Champions League. And they hired Frank Lampard. In their infinite wisdom, he chose Frank Lampard as a man to take Chelsea to a new level. And to be fair to him, he did. Because he took them from 10th to 12th. He took them from the top half of the table and some grace to finishing in the bottom half. And it was poetically brilliant. I've never watched musicals, Chris, they're not my sort of thing, right? Unless I was forced to watch any of them with my sister, put them on telly growing up, I weren't interested in them. But Chelsea the musical was a beautiful sight to behold and watch because the tragedy tale that it told was comedy genius. It was brilliant. How they did that this season and got away with not getting relegated is fantastic. Give them a medal, Chris, because on another season they get relegated. I'm sorry, they do. On another season, I think they got relegated. I breathe.
I've said quite often I can't argue with anything that you say there. But the joke is it's a joke that is Chelsea, that it was James Corden that recommended Frank Lampard.
There's the punchline, Chris. There is the punchline. That's the comedian going, ta-da! I'm the punchline behind Chelsea, because just when we thought maybe he was going to make a sensible decision, someone went, here, lads, listen to this. I'm a massive Chelsea fan. Go and get Frank Lampard. It felt like Anton Deck on the Saturday Night Takeaway. He had a piece and he said, now tell him to hire Frank Lampard as manager. You know what I mean? It was the way that came out just made it even better, didn't it? A comedian turned Chelsea into the biggest comedy hall of Stamford Bridge was the biggest comedy arena of this season. And we got relegated, Chris, and I'm saying that.
Yeah. I mean, Liverpool not having a very good season and Chelsea, it kind of took the light off us a little bit.
It made anybody who thought they had a bad season think, well, it could have been worse, could have been Chelsea.
Yes, yeah. It is embarrassing, isn't it? I mean, we said about Daniel Levy sticking his thumbs in where he wasn't, needed. I mean, Bowley. I mean, what was he thinking? I mean, that many players that they couldn't get them all into the changing rooms. How the hell are Chelsea not being done on FFP?
Well, because of Chelsea. But also, and I will say this, I know I've kind of given him some jibes saying he chose unemployment over it. And I take it with a pinch of salt, because I do back what you're saying about he couldn't turn it down. And I don't blame him for taking the job. I honestly don't. But what was Potter supposed to do when none of them signings were going to take him seriously? Because they didn't sign for him, they signed for the guy with the £1 billion.
Yeah.
He never stood a chance, to be fair to him. It was almost like it was a publicity stunt to kind of say, come to Chelsea, we'll give anybody a chance to shine. And then, okay, now we've got all these players, we don't need you. You will just face, see you later, bye.
Like I said, if any Chelsea fans are watching and you have been infected by any issues on this show, please contact the Samaritans, and the number
Yeah.
is
Or just email Chelsea Football Club and ask them what the hell they were doing.
well, yeah, exactly.
Or give him 2 sticks and see if he can learn to rub them together and test that theory. I don't know.
Something's got to be done. But look, well done, Chelsea. And one thing you can't say that Chelsea are
elite.
Oh no, they are so not elite. Look, let's get to Wolves. 13th was where they finished. 13th was where I predicted. Yeah, the second one I got right. You kind of said meh. It was probably what was expected. But I think at the start of the season, any Wolves fan would have bitten your hand off for 13th, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would have, especially the way it started. But, excuse me. Give me a second. Yeah, with Wolves, the reason I went meh is because it could have been awful. It had a chance to be really great when Lopetegui first got there. And with that, it had the potential to be a pretty good season. And then it just seemed to fall out. It just seemed to stop. The Wolves momentum train just seemed to, come off the rails a bit. And I've heard some talks, and people have been telling me when I've been talking to them that there's a fallout between the hierarchy, between him and higher up. Maybe if Targetson wants to go with. And I'm all for a player being ambitious, and I'm sure Wolves already knew the situation, but why did Ruben Neves feel the need with a few games to go to come out and go, yes, I've made it no secret, I want Champions League football? Tell the club that. Tell your manager that. Let him know that early. Have a bit of respect for the club that pay your wages. I'm not going to name players. I'm not going to cough some names out there. Don't worry. I thought about it, but I'll be nice for now. Right? Why did they do that? You know, like you said about that Man City season where they announced sacking, was it Pellegrini, like 10 games or 15 games to go? It just seemed disrespectful. I don't know why you'd do it. And, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to play Champions League football. I'm not a Wolves fan. I haven't seen him play week in, week out. He seems to be able to do the business from what I've seen of him. But, yeah, bit of a stale end to the season. And, yeah, that's why they're just meh. Because in the end, you thought, I'm not saying they would have done anything close to an Aston Villa, but at one point in that season, the way he propelled them from 20th all the way up, you thought, really, at least flying them up here. Where could this end? And kind of damp squid. So it turned a good season for me into a meh one. It went through all the emotions for Wolves, I'm guessing, fans, starting at the bottom, went to its top, and then kind of cooled off a bit. So I ended up in meh.
Yeah. No, and West Ham, or we could just call these Leicester City B, because everything we do, they follow us a season behind. They've stayed up in 14th, which I think is probably not where they deserve to be. And I think it's like when last season we finished 8th. That wasn't a true reflection of our season. And I don't think 14th is as West Ham. He was a lot worse than that. We ended up getting to a European semi-final against Roma. Unfortunately, fortunately, obviously, Mourinho liked the referee that refereed that night. But did I say that out loud? But this season they've got to a European final. Good luck to them in that. Always want British teams to do well. But look, it's almost again. Are they going to stick with Moyes because look, they finished 14th? They could have been relegated. He got them, to 14th. They've got to a final. I predicted them to finish 9th, so they were a lot worse than my prediction was. And Brad, you've said it was just sort of a meh season for them.
Yeah, in the Premier League it was meh, and I think as good as it is, and I'm with you, Chris, I hope they win it. I think it has been a meh Premier League season because rightly the Europa League conference has been a priority because I'm not one to turn my nose down at these competitions, unlike certain other people and from supporters of certain clubs. Arsenal fans. You should be, bending over backwards to win a competition like this because you may never win another decent competition in your life. So make the most of it. But in a league, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you look what actually kept a team up this season, or what nearly potentially kept a club up. 36 points, 34 points could have. Well, at one point was keeping us up on 34 points. Again, I think they look over their shoulder and go, "Fam, for that," in a way, because you can say at the right moment, and it was at the right moment for them. They found a bit of form. It still was a bit indifferent, but they managed to find some form, and in the end, that's what they'll really give a monkeys about, especially if they go on to win it. And I'm sure West Ham fans, on a general, whether they go on to win it or not, will probably say it's a good season on that basis, and I totally get that. But from a purely Premier League basis, how many more times are they going to need a wake-up call with 15 games to go and do just enough to stay up? That's my worry. And that's why, for me, it was like, you're going to lose Declan Rice, and they've kind of admitted that. David Moyes has admitted that. I don't know if Rice has said anything. I don't know. Himself personally come up, maybe made a statement. I don't know what his end of season speech has been like, but they sound resigned to that. That's going to be a big issue for them. Again, they knew it was coming. But time will tell for them on that one. I think next season is going to be a worry for them. Because they won't have somebody like a Leicester having an awful season to prop them up if they have another bad season. I think West Ham fans will probably be very pessimistic at the start of next season, especially if they lose Rice early on and they've not got a replacement in. So that's why I went meh in the end.
Yeah, he does look like he's going. West Ham United, I mean, I've got to say, their last 5 games kind of summed their season up. Lost one, lost one, lost. You know what I mean? That was West Ham for you. Okay, so let's have a look at the next one up. My local team down here, and this is what hurts so much. How the hell did a team that got stuffed 9-0 still stay up? I mean, a team that had Scott Parker as their manager, they finished 15th. I said they would finish 19th. And I have to be honest with you, that 19th was based on the fact that Scott Parker was going to be manager.
Yeah, and I think you still had them one place higher than they would have finished under Scott Parker. Because the only thing Scott Parker was going to get Bournemouth challenging for was the 11 points challenge by Derby County. And again, unlike certain other teams that we're slowly getting closer and closer to, they made the decision a lot earlier. And it doesn't always work, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you sack a manager in a panic run. This guy had more DNA holding strands of intelligent football in his jacket than he did in his brain sometimes. I don't know where his head was at, thinking he could be the way he was. His interviews were strange for me. Reminds me of a certain Southampton manager who took 8 weeks to actually manage a club. But we don't talk about him. I've never mentioned him and mocked him for being an awful manager. It was a good season. It wasn't quite.
I just wonder if Katey's watching it all.
Oh wow, we'll soon find out, won't we? But no, for me, look, they again. They had that instant manager bounce, assistant manager bounce, I guess you would. And he did a brilliant job. And he maybe proved that when Bournemouth actually showed some fight and intelligence on the football pitch, it was because he gave whispered some instructions, and maybe he was telling Scott Parker, maybe try this, Gaffer, don't be an idiot. You're trying to play, I don't know, 7 up front and it's not working. Maybe put them back in, I don't know. Put your Legos in order. Maybe he just organised things a bit better, because when every time they sort of lost a few games, Chris, everybody thought, well, that's it now. This is it. He'll lose a few more games. He'll get sacked. They'll bring in someone. This was it. That was nice. But then he'd get them playing football again. And I don't begrudge them what happened on the last game of the season. I really don't. It shouldn't come down to us needing another team to win to stay up at the end of the day. Win or draw, doesn't matter. We shouldn't be relying on other teams' results, full stop. So, I don't begrudge them that. he kept picking them up. He's kept them going. He kept them confidence to keep gaining points. And in the end, from a team that was early doors talked about like Wolves as the team that would go down, you know, they finished 15th. They probably deserved to be a little bit higher because if they hadn't had such a bad period, Chris, they potentially would have finished higher than Chelsea this season the way they were going. You know, I'd maybe someone like anyone with a brain cell other than Scott Park had to start the season. Okay, they might not have seen what Gary O'Neill could do, but you know what I mean? They might have got a few more points on the board or something. And yeah, I think they could have ended up with how bad Chelsea were this season, finishing higher. So I thought it was actually a good season.
This one, I don't know about it hurting you, but it's going to hurt me. I said, in fairness to them, let me just say this. I mean, Luke's in, and I'm going to say congratulations on staying up. There were a lot of people's favourite to go down, but I had them finishing on 15th, so they actually let me down because they finished 16th, and you've got them as having a good season.
Yeah, look, I'm just going to be short and sweet with this one. I'm going to rip it off like a bandage on an open wound. I'm just going to rip it off and put the fresh one on. You know, when, you know, Steve Cooper was handed the signing of the three.
Thanks a lot, NTTM. I've got to get that the right way around. Cheers, buddy. Take care. And sorry, you got to go to work.
Yeah, no worries, mate. It is what it is. But yeah, when Steve Cooper was handed the signings of the 33,000 players that they acquired, I did not see. I honestly, I looked at the size of the phenomenal size of their squad, and I know that they lost a lot of players because they were a lone team that sort of came up in a way. So they had to make a lot of signings away, but they went a bit overboard, didn't they? It's like they got a really good pay bonus and they decided to go on Amazon and they didn't stop to think of the total they were, you know, items they were accumulating and the postal and packaging they were putting on. So you'd be forgiven. Luke, who's a Forest fan through and through, he wasn't most optimistic. I saw his predictions, Chris. So, you know, he was fair to think that they wouldn't cope against the obvious teams, and they surprised it, and they got enough surprising results and did enough in the end, you know, against teams that they were looking at to realistically get their points from, like us. In the end, it turned out, and Southampton's and whatnot, they did that as well. So in the end, deservedly so, whether I like to admit it or not. Yeah, they did.
You know.
Yeah, and the Arsenal one. That ultimately secured their survival. So in the end, as much as I hate to admit it, they deserve to stay in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And they did so quite comfortably in the end, in a weird sort of way, given how it ended up coming into the last game of the season, and that which you thought they'd be in the talking point for. They were supposed to be in that conversation potentially at the end. They weren't supposed to be. Well, they were supposed to be either done or in the talk of relegation. They weren't supposed to be safe. And whether I like it or not, I do these as fair as I can. They have had a good season. So fair play to you, Luke. For all the stick we've given you this season, your team did good.
Steve says there, Forest fought for every point. And that is the difference. When I watched Forest, they did fight, which is something we did.
Yeah, exactly that. They did. How many times this season did we probably curse ourselves in the prediction show because we said that Forest could win, but because we're Leicester fans, we never went for it. And we picked up the odds. Yeah. Well, you know, that's also probably why we picked up a few bonus points because we braved going for a draw and they maybe nicked a point. That was the difference probably for the season as well. So, yeah, they deserve it because they showed something that we lacked, and that was no matter the result, fight. And like I said, they showed it in every game.
Bottom four we come on to now.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network.
TalkSport. Powered by fans.
unlike the BBC, I'm still going to be with TalkSport next
And
season.
that's the end of the show. We don't want to see that. No.
I know. Everton, they finished 17th. I actually had them predicting that they were going to finish 16th because they started the season, correct me if I'm wrong, with a
I actually meant to put them as awful, not as meh.
Turn out he's got them as meh.
I'm going to talk about them being awful, but
No,
meh
fine,
at the same
that's
time.
fine.
Yeah, that was my fault. I thought I'd said it as awful.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They started the season, if memory serves me right, and we got James in, who is obviously a big Everton fan, season ticket holder. They started the season, I believe, still with Lampard in charge, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they've done this for 2 seasons now. I had them down as 16th, so they did worse than I predicted, although not as bad as the next one. They can't keep doing this and just staying up. Is staying up going to be a curse? Because are the FA finally going to get round, sorry James, to docking them some points?
They're going to have to get some form of repercussions next season. You'd imagine they've got this little bit of hoodwink of being a Premier League darling, that they'll probably get a hefty fine, which may even hinder them. Look, they're going to do no favours. There is horrible times coming for Everton because the debt they're in, the laws that they are breaking. I'm going to say this right now, especially because I know James is in. He's live with us. Hopefully he's still here. James?
Oh, he is. I've just put a post up. # sat the board, he says.
Yeah. James, I'm going to say this now. What I'm about to say about your season is nothing reflecting on your players, your manager, or you, the fans, or you as a football club. This isn't what I think of Everton. This is what I think of the disastrous running of your club. This team deserves to go down. In terms of a football team and the way they played the game and the heart they showed, they don't deserve to go down on that basis. No matter what we thought of them, right? No matter what we think of them as a club or what they deserved, and this is why I say it's awful. I didn't really want to give awful at first, and I think this is probably why I didn't change it, and I meant to change it, and that's why you've got meh, because I thought that they didn't go down. And it was kind of a meh season, because you say it's been the last 2 seasons. Marco Silva had them struggling. That's why they were sacked. Ronald Koeman, who many say his signings were the starting of this disaster because he was allowed to free spend. He was sacked because they were in dire free fall. So, Rafa Benitez couldn't do any better. In fact, he was very popular on them YouTubers that do impressions of them. I mean, some of them were pumping out 4 or 5 videos, just mocking the fact that Rafa was agent Rafa taking them down because of obviously his Liverpool connections, and they were mocked. They're getting mocked. They're getting laughed, and I think they're kind of hoping that people feel so sorry for them as fans and as a club. But I do to that point. You don't deserve.
Think?
Pardon?
Are they the new Newcastle?
Yeah, they are in terms of their ownership. It's just, I'm not saying they're bad people, and I don't think they are bad people. I just think they've made very, very poor decisions of who they've entrusted to spend money. He doesn't have a brain, so he's up there. The Dyche signing has only just by the skin of its teeth paid off, and I don't even think it warranted paying off, to be perfectly honest with you, because they have been bad for so long. And history tells us, Chris, that, they stayed up. And they stayed up for the second season running, but eventually that ground's going to crumble too much. All that shaking on that relegation trapdoor, ask Sunderland, ask Aston Villa, ask teams like West Brom when they were surviving, ask Portsmouth survived. So history has a funny habit of repeating itself, and they could be the next team that falls through that trap door and maybe yo-yos for a bit, or even worse, does what teams have done like Southampton, Leeds and Leicester have done, Chris. We go through the next floor and end up in League One. And I fear for the fans of the club that's going to happen, but you just don't see any other way because they ain't even close to being out of the woods, mate. They've got a rusty machete against a 100-foot tall and 100-mile yard of shitcrete without a paddle of stinging nettles in front of them, and they've got a rusty machete to cut it down with. I don't know how that club's going to cope for the next 5 to 10 years. And if they don't somehow go down in the next 2 or 3 seasons, I will be baffled, mate. It will break my footballing brain.
Talking about breaking footballing brains and breaking hearts, and well, I don't know how much longer I can carry on playing this.
I'm Premier League. I am elite. I am proper elite. No. I am Dorinda.
Yes. Just shows that feels even more embarrassing now, doesn't it? Look,
yeah.
I mean, I had us down as 8th, so I wasn't predicting even predicting European football for us again. I obviously forgot to put the 1 in front of that.
I was just about to say it's just a shame you didn't put the 1 in your prediction.
Yeah. I wouldn't have got any more points for it, but look, yeah, we finished 18th. We're back down in the Championship. Apparently, they're reporting that we've gone back in for Potter, and that we've basically said, look, basically we've said to him, name your price. But I just want to say something that some people have said here. The other day, Top said he would learn by his mistakes. One of those was throwing big money at a Liverpool reject manager, but now he's trying to throw big money at a Chelsea reject manager. He won't learn. Some folk just can't. I mean, you've got to forget that he is a Liverpool reject. A Chelsea reject. He was very much a Brighton success, and we are not Chelsea, but we are on a par with. Well, we were on a par with Brighton.
Yeah, but then I'll throw it back to you that Brendan Rodgers was a success with Swansea, the South Coasty team.
Not really as much as well. I don't know.
I mean, really, was Potter? I mean, he kept them in the Premier League, sure, but he only stayed around for the first 2 months of this this Europa League season campaign. Zerbi did the majority of the work to get them there. He never actually really did anything better than 16th for a while. So I don't know, mate. It's similar patterns.
They finished 9th last season, didn't lose in the last 5.
Oh, okay. So they had one good season and then bailed on them. So,
but then we
Brendan Rodgers did that with Swansea, did he not? He got them up and bailed on straight away.
I can't go that. I haven't got that up, but would also say that Brendan wasn't that good at Celtic because there wasn't even a Rangers there for most of his time.
Yeah, and Graham Potter learned his trades of winning silverware the exact same style in a Swedish league that was the team that always won it. So, yeah.
We're going to agree to disagree on this one, but what we can both agree on, it was fucking awful.
Yeah, it was. Let's cheer ourselves up. Let's talk about Leeds.
Let's cheer ourselves up because I think we deserve this. Yes. That's not cheered us up, nothing will. It was awful for us. We held on to we held on to I'm going to say it and then I can play this straight away. Bellend. We held on to it much too long. As James said, why the hell we didn't go in for Dyche earlier? Who knows whether he could have done anything or not? I think he'd have certainly given the players a kick up the arse. But look, we didn't finish bottom or second from bottom. Second from bottom goes to Leeds. Now, I, in fairness, had predicted Leeds to finish 20th, and they finished 19th. And I'm like, oof, that was a bit close. You had them as meh. Was it kind of what we expected, I think, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, for all intents and purposes, they were awful. But when you kind of said base it off where I expected them to finish, they were awful. Jesse Marsh was hilariously bad. I did not hide my opinions towards Jesse March. I never sat on that fence, I could tell you that much. And then, they did it. Anything Leicester can do, why does everybody want to outclass us? I don't think Leeds United kind of understood what that meant, because what they did is they went, oh, you think it was too late to sack your manager? Well, look what we're going to do. And they gave Big Sam 4 games to save a season when they were like 6 points behind. Like, what are you doing? You nearly tried to do the relegation the last time you were in the Premiership with the same way. You're trying to blow all your money before you go down. Very strange. It was an awful season, but was I surprised? No. Because Marsh... yeah, exactly. The Garcia added it. It's like, did you learn? No, we're going to leave Garcia in. We're going to give Garcia the job. So you're not going to learn. You're not going to get... Okay, well done, Leeds. You relegated yourself. I kind of expected it. I was the same, mate. I had them in the relegation zone. I didn't like who they had in charge. He didn't inspire me. And it's just Leeds. Just... At least we're never going to have 6 points with us next season.
Last one. We're at the bottom. I didn't predict the bottom. I predicted.
I put these as awful, Chris. I didn't say meh.
Did you not?
I know I did. Yeah, I don't know why. Mate, if it's come across to you as meh, I don't know why, because these were the throw up emotion I used with yuck being the awful badge. And then you told me to word it, so maybe I've not put the right word across in my second copy of it. I do apologise. I've done this to you twice. This is me.
You can't get the staff these days.
I know I can't. I'll fire my assistant. You're fired. See, it's done.
Yeah, now I'm just looking here. Leeds United met, Southampton met. I thought you'd gone for meh because it was what we expected. I mean, yes, they had an awful season, but that was what we expected of them. Nobody really thought they were going to do any better than they did. So it was pretty much that's why I'm guessing you'd gone for meh.
Yeah, I think my first instinct was more on. Can we just talk about how awful they were, though, Chris? They were like throw up awful. They were embarrassingly awful.
In fairness, they beat us twice.
Well, yeah, that shows how bad. That's why we were awful, Chris. But yeah, I think sadly they were a team that wasn't any spite towards them. It was just you got beat 9-0 twice, and yeah, granted you stayed up, but you never improved. And that old Southampton way eventually cost you. I mean, can I ask the question right now? And we turned down the offer to sign him, or we put. I can't. I know we were linked with him at some point. Che Adams is who I'm on about. I've waited to remember the name properly before I said it. Che Adams, right? And we turned him down, or we didn't. But didn't bid too much. Southampton bid more.
It was a local lad that went on via other clubs, I think.
Yeah, because he was at Birmingham. That's where they signed him from. And I think we were like, maybe we should get him. And because he was local, everybody kind of got a bit hype around him. But why did they think he would keep him up? I don't know what he's done that Southampton fans, maybe they're a bit deluded and blinded because it's been so bad for them this season. I don't know. But why are they so insistent?
So he played, his youth career was Highfield Rangers, Coventry City, St Andrews and Oadby Town. His senior career was Oadby Town, Ilkeston, Sheffield United, Birmingham City, Southampton. 123 appearances. In fairness for Southampton, but only 25 goals. Not a great...
Yeah, exactly. I don't know where this false hype Southampton fans keep trying to give to him. I don't know if he's one of them that he's really nice in person and he tries, but he's just got the shooting ability of Akinbaye. The fans want him to do well, but he just won't do well. Because 25 in over 100 appearances in the Premier League, you'd expect that from a midfielder maybe and go, oh, okay, he's not actually that bad. He can chip in with 5 or so goals a season or whatever.
At Birmingham, he had 116 appearances and he scored 34 there. That was the champion.
Yeah, but that's not too much more, is it, really, Chris? And you think that's in the league below as well. So I don't know why were you relying on that to to keep you up. Why were you allowing Danny Ings to go to Villa, who's now, and then he's gone on to West Brom? Yeah, why weren't you bringing someone like that and keeping them in or whatever? They've never made much sense, and then this was probably sad in a way as well, because you just saw it coming a mile off. The fact that Southampton fans came to the season and went, "We're going to get relegated." Their fate was at least something they were able to accept 15 games ago, not game week 38 like we had to. That's what they were fine in a way with relegation. Game week 27 or 28 or something like that. You know what I mean? Close to 10 games left.
Yes.
They were just so bad.
Well, there it is. I want to leave you, and I've not suddenly found religion or anything, but I just want to leave you with two thoughts for the day. Because, we're going to need togetherness, we're going to need fight, we're going to need spirit, pride in the shirt next season. And I've got to say, there is no I in team, they say, but if you are Leicester City, there is a James Maddison. But I know he will be going, but I'm sorry, that's how I perceived his season to be. And my second thought that I want to leave you with is there is an I in team. It's actually hidden in the A-hole. Now, when I actually Google translated A-hole in Google Translate, it came up as hidden in the Yuri Tielemans. I'll leave you with that one. Brad.
No comment, sir.
It's true.
Oh. Yeah, I'll let you get yourself in hot water for that one, mate. If the Facebook police come for you for false translation, I didn't have nothing to do with it, officers. It's on recording live. This is my statement.
The views of Leicester Till I Die TV do not necessarily represent those of Brad Perkis.
Yeah.
But you know how near the mark I am with both of those.
Well,
Brad,
yeah, let's say that much.
It's been a long season. It's been an even longer week. You've been here every night with me. I really, really do appreciate it. Look, we're going to have a few weeks off now, but next week we're going to be sorting out the quiz channel. And don't forget, guys, if you do like a quiz channel, get on over there now to Top 10 Battles it is at the moment, but get over there because we are going to be rebranding it as LTID TV, the quiz channel. And looking forward to it, Brad. But look, mate, thank you so much for all your support this week. Really do appreciate it. It's been therapy.
Yeah, it has. Despite the season the club's gone on to have and our team's gone on to have, it has. I have enjoyed doing the shows with you, Chris. They have been fun to do because I think we've always been as fair and as honest as possible. And not everybody's agreed with everything we said, but that's the joys of football. As long as they're constructive in what they say, we're always happy to hear what everybody's got to say and question us on certain things. And I have enjoyed the shows as themselves. Just a shame that just a shame the way it ended in terms of league position.
It has, but look, as quick as you rise, you can go down just as quickly, and that is football. And I've got to say, well done to Luton Town on coming up. Burnley, look, they've been there before. Great season for Burnley. Well done on winning it. Sheffield United, they're up and down like the proverbial Bryce Knickers. But Luton Town, what a story. I know they're going to have to do a lot of work on the ground. But, they were cheated out of it last year. I don't care what you say, Luke. I'm sorry. They were cheated out of it last year. They got it this... Oh, no, it wasn't then Luton, was it? It was Huddersfield. Huddersfield. Luton lost in the semis, didn't they? That was it. I'm so glad to see a team like Luton doing well and coming up.
Yeah, I am. And you know what I'm looking forward to the most, Chris? It's not Kenilworth Road being a Premier League ground. Do you know what I'm looking forward to? Live on Sky, Friday night, they're playing the opening game of the season. They've got Spurs away, so they're going to start the season with 3 points, right? They already know that. That's like a given. We know Spurs will lose to them if it's the opening game of the season. And then there's a penalty shout, and the referee has to go down the tunnel, out the left, come on to the street corners, go into Betty's at number 3, go open up a Sky and Sky Plus and just rewind the instant for a VAR check for possible handball in the box and just use that remote at Betty's at number 3. And that's how we're going to get given our VAR decisions at Canada Road. But I'm here for it, mate.
It's going to be...
Betty's just leaving the back door key under the mats on match day so they can come in quickly. If she's not there, she got popped to shop. It's all right, they can get in that way.
She's going to be a very popular woman, Betty, isn't she? Talking of which, no VAR next season. Yes, looking forward. You dare, EFL, you dare introduce it next season. I'm going to put a bomb under your place. Brad, look, mate, I'll speak to you next week because we've got to sort the channel out. But thank you so very, very much for everything you've done this season. And obviously becoming LTID TV 2 next season.
No worries, mate. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the new journey. I'm looking forward to hosting quizzes for you guys. And I'm looking forward to
hosting them because you're bloody rubbish when you take part in them.
Yeah, but we all know I also forget to bring the answers to some of them. So I'll improve. I'll improve.
You know, I know I'm crap at quizzes, and I accept that, so I don't go on any.
I know. You think I'm a sucker for punishment that way, but I am. But there we go. I'm looking forward to doing it, Chris. I'm looking forward to starting the new quizzes, or revitalizing the quizzes of before and doing that. And obviously, I'm going to be still doing this. Don't worry, guys. You thought you're going to lose me forever. No, Chris hasn't been able to negotiate enough for me to move over completely permanent. So you're stuck with me again next season for the football.
Honestly, he believes that, everybody. He believes that.
Wait, what?
It's funny that you're setting up this new channel and yet I've just brought Katey in.
Wait. Someone get my agent on the phone. What do you mean if I've got an agent?
Mate, I will speak to you next week and we'll be doing specials during the summer, I am sure. Thank you so much, mate. All the best and thanks for everything.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Take care, everybody, and do all your good stuff, people. Leave your subscriptions and your likes on your way out.
Good man. Take care.
Take care, mate.
Thanks to Brad. I would usually do at the end of all these shows the coming up next, but I don't think I've got anything coming up next. We are going to be hopefully trying to do a championship preview of who we're going to be meeting. So sort of not who's going to be finishing where, because it's too early to do those, but trying to get a fan in from a championship club that can go through the clubs that are down there and talk to us about them. Look, thanks to everybody for this last season. Thanks to everybody who supported this week. Please do subscribe to the channel. The more subscriptions, it does help. $1.99 if you want to become a member. So thanks to Brad. Thanks to everybody that was in the chat. James, Luke, Steve, everybody else that was in there. Anthony's just popped in with the usual Arsenal shit. Let's just leave it at that. And mate, you are welcome to him. I will drive him there for you. If you want a show pony to go with the rest of your show ponies, he's the man for you. Thank you to everybody that's been listening on the podcast, whether that's on YouTube or or Google. I'm forgetting them. Apple iTunes, and of course Spotify. That was the word I was looking for. Thank you so very much. Please do subscribe, like the video, click the notification bell, and for just $1.99 of your good old English pounds a month, do what Steve did and become a member. It really does help. This has been an awful season. Let's not lie. But this has been LTID TV. I've been Chris. This is Arnie. Thanks for all your support, guys. See you soon. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network.
TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.